Hello, Internet! It's Gino, that Pinguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens, and it's time to finally finish Nier Automata. We are going to be discussing endings C, D, and E, and maybe some of the other endings if we feel like it, but the other ones are joke endings, so who cares? But before we discuss Nier Automata, let me bring in our two regular co-hosts. Let's talk about the philosophy professor himself, the master of machine machinations. That's not a good name, but hey, Pete.
Hey,
Pete Busby.
Hello, everybody. I thought it was pretty good. I mean, that was like a nice little play on words you had there. But I'm excited to talk more about robots and androids and the crazy, wacky things they do. This week's animal fact is about the bearded vulture. So this is a terribly anthropomorphic way to put it, but I'm going to use the headline because it sounds good. So bearded vultures are the only, I shouldn't say the only, one of the only other animals that uses makeup. So what they do is they find reddish soil, which is rich in iron oxides, and they dye their white feathers red. So scientists aren't really sure why they do this. They know it's a deliberate choice. One of the theories is it's meant to show dominance because it's very hard to find such soil deposits. So you need to be big and strong and fly a lot. The other theory is that it's used to kill microbes, but that one doesn't seem to be particularly popular as a theory. But regardless, bearded vultures fly around until they find red soil so they can dye their feathers a nice pretty color.
And no one has posited a hypothesis that they do it to look fly as hell?
I think dominance is the vulture version of looking fly as hell.
You know, there's a subtle distinction there, but I guess I'll
Sure.
leave that up to the scientists. Our second co-host, as always, the mistress of the mechanical, the master of androids, M. Hello. M. Palladino. Hello.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I do not have an animal fact.
Well,
that is
goodbye
all.
Then.
Okay. Good. Bye. Don't stomp on my turf.
Thank you for having me.
Well, before we discuss Nier Automata, the outstanding, the game we played for this week's show, just a reminder, we've got
week shows.
What did you say?
For a lot of week shows.
Yeah, for over a month of shows.
Seriously, this is probably like our largest continuing stretch of content. Maybe ever. Have we ever played a game longer than 3 consecutive weeks?
Life is Strange had 3 weeks as well. The original Life is Strange.
Games of comparable quality.
I will say there is more game here, but is there better game? We'll see. Jury's still out on this one, but we'll discuss that later. But before we get to that, we've got 2 things. One, just a reminder, we've got a Patreon now. You can support us, Deep Listens. Patreon.com/Deep Listens. You can join our Discord. You can, by supporting us, we've got a community now of people, and the Discord is hot. We've got a lot of discussions going on there, which leads us to this new segment that M is pioneering. We've got Discord news.
This is the Discord report. Welcome to the Discord report. This week on Discord, ZP told us all about the backstory behind Nier that we weren't getting because we have not played and watched and read, and we don't care about this series as much as other people seem to. But there was a very long timeline that we were given of games in the Nier series, as well as stage shows and comics and
Drakengard, all of the Drakengard games. So
there was a drama CD in there.
Shows?
Yeah,
Yes.
so
There were plays. Nier Automata plays.
Yes.
Well, there are plays. Also, there was a concert that is in canon.
Mm-hmm.
A concert that took place had events during the musical concert that are canonical.
Yep.
Pete, that silence
I'm way more,
is you being
yeah, I'm
wrong.
way more interested in the meta narrative now than the game itself. Like, this is incredible that there are canon plays.
Does it make you feel better to know that Drakengard, which was the series that predated Nier, the Nier universe is an extension of one of several possible endings of one of the Drakengard games, and it was one of the joke endings?
But
Yeah.
this all checks out. Sounds incredibly
Yes.
on brand.
So basically, to get to Nier, you have Drakengard 1, which has a joke ending where the protagonist gets killed by a U.S. military drone strike while trying to fight this monster. And so he does not get to stop the events of Drakengard. And then the other one, you end up killing every human soul. And that's the bad ending that leads us to Nier Automata. Also, I hate the fact that the game confirms your pronunciation, Gino. It says it once, and you are correct. It's Automata.
Just another reason this game's terrible. It just got worse.
Of course.
Yeah. Other things on the, one more, random thing. Excuse me. We made a food channel on the Discord, and, immediately we have to close it because all the food content is cursed.
This is where we give a heartfelt apology to all our fans. We regret the error.
Yes.
Won't let it happen again.
Well, if you want to join our Discord community before we condemn the food section, you can do so by going to patreon.com/deeplistens and supporting the show. But the other thing we have from our community is our email section that we always have every show. You can get in touch with the show at deeplistenspod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We've got our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. And as though your statement about the food channel was cursed, we have an email.
No.
You merely saying something about the food channel brought this email into existence. It's odd because you said that out loud and then the email came in.
I see.
It's like Beetlejuice, but it only takes one, so it's 3 times worse.
Yes.
The culprit himself rears his head. What does ZP have to say?
So this comes in eerily 5 seconds ago, and it says, "The stunning conclusion of zombie pie putting ketchup in pasta sauce." So I need to say the subject line of this email is in all caps except the word sauce, where it's all caps except for the last E.
Mm-hmm.
It's that attention to detail we appreciate in our fans. Hello, glorious Deep Listens Comintern. What's a Comintern? Pete?
Do you mean commentariat and like autocorrected to something weird?
It's possible. Maybe it's a singular of commentariat? I don't know. Whatever. It's fine. I come to you today with the glorious final act of my riveting 5-act drama. ZP talks about putting ketchup in pasta sauce. Well, like most of my behavior, it turns out there's a highly historical and logical reason for what I've been doing. It turns out the ketchup spaghetti recipe I've been using is borrowed from my Japanese grandmother and has an interesting backstory. We'll be the judge of that.
We'll see.
The dish is popular and widely available at cafe restaurants in Japan. I can confirm that. And is referred to as spaghetti Napolitan.
Napolitano?
Nope. Napolitan. That's why I paused.
Yeah, you would have thought Neapolitan, but it's not.
Or Napolitano.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's Japanese, so sometimes they go with an abbreviation that is not necessarily the way it would be done if you did it in the native language.
They spell things wrong.
They spell things different. Spaghetti Napolitan, actually pronounced Napolitan, started at a hotel in Yokohama. The chef who originated the dish was inspired after eating spaghetti and meatballs at a military base during the Allied occupation of Japan at the end of World War II. However, because tomatoes were rare at the time, they elected to use ketchup instead of tomato sauce. He has given me a Wikipedia link. I'm not clicking a link from an email. The common ingredients include onions, mushrooms, green bell peppers, and sausages. It's seasoned with ketchup and Parmesan cheese, and it is served with Tabasco sauce. Here's one recipe I found on the internet. Ingredients: 7 ounces of spaghetti, 1 clove of garlic, 6 sausages, quarter of an onion, 1 bell pepper, 4 to 6 mushrooms, 2 tablespoons extra virgin olive oil. I hope you're taking this down, listeners. 2 tablespoons of milk, 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese, freshly ground sauce, 4 tablespoons of ketchup, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 teaspoon Worcestershire sauce, 1/4 teaspoon sugar, optional, 1/3 tablespoon reserve pasta water, salt, kosher or sea salt. Use half if using table salt, freshly ground black pepper. I'm not going to continue reading this recipe.
Yeah. Can you skip to the part where he mentions how much ketchup is actually in the dish?
4 tablespoons.
How much is that? I don't cook. I have no idea what a tablespoon is.
It's not very much ketchup.
Okay, so basically this is a sauce that has some ketchup inside of it.
It is the highest volume of liquid in this. So it is mostly ketchup. But this would not be a very thick sauce, I would think. Or it would not be... There's not a lot of sauce here. 7 ounces of spaghetti isn't very much. So this would probably be fine in terms of coverage. But the problem with ketchup spaghetti isn't that you can't make spaghetti sauce out of ketchup. It's that other options exist. We live in the year 2019, and I understand that in World War II, when Japan was occupied, times were hard. Tomatoes, they were hard to get. Italians, there was, a dicey relationship, shall we say, between the Japanese and the Italians. One side had talked the other into a real bad deal. Who's to say who got who screwed up? But it was tough to get the real Italian sauces. But nowadays, in the globalized world in which we live, we can do better. So, stop. I know you've made listeners. You can do better. Tomatoes are not that expensive. Tomato sauces, pre-made tomato sauces are available. Please don't make ketchup, and please don't add sugar to your ketchup.
Now, Gino, is there any chance that Italy's dominance of Italian food in terms of its deliciousness and their ability to produce it could be a tool of global power? Is Italy trying to take over the world through their incredible pastas and sauces?
I'll just say that if they were trying to take over the world using any other tactic, they clearly were failing.
That's the only option.
I think cultural hegemony via pastas and sauces. If we were playing a game of Civilization, we're going for a culture win.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going for a military win. We're not going for erecting enough feats and astounding world wonders that everyone just admits we're the best culture. It's got to be a culture win.
They do have a few of those feats, though. They haven't skimped on that.
Yeah, from the Romans.
From 2,000 years ago.
Versions.
The modern versions are
Been
less
a
good.
while.
Yeah, so I think if we can just get enough people to agree that our sauces are the best sauces and the way we make them is the best, maybe we'll end up on top by the end of this large game of civilization we called humanity. And that's our emails. So without further ado, let's discuss Nier Automata, the canonical way to pronounce that game.
Never. I'd rather not discuss it.
Don't accept this.
Well, too late. I already said it, and the game agrees with me. So here we are, 3 podcasts in, and we've learned that the darkest pronunciation is the true pronunciation. Just like how we've learned, getting to endings C, D, and E, that the darkest interpretation of where this game was going to go was, in fact, the correct one. So, ending of A. Ending of the A run. You play as 2B. The game ends. Spoilers for all of the endings for this podcast. We're going to be covering all of it. At the end of Route A, you play as 2B, and you basically choke the life out of 9S, your accomplice after...
But you do it sexily. Very
Yes.
sexily.
You sexily choke him out. You mount him and then choke him to death. And then when he dies, he assumes control of a bunch of machines and seems to have become one with the machine network. Then, in Route B, you play as 9S. You do almost all of the same things. It fills in some of the blanks between the first run and now, but it ends the same way largely, except you're 9S and you get choked out, and then you become one with the machine network. Route C seems to take place immediately after Route A and B finishes, pretty much. The large machines, Adam and Eve, they're these two android-looking machines that controlled the network, are defeated by 2B and 9S. And now Yorha, the android military force, has decided to seize on this opportunity to defeat the machines once and for all while they are scattered with the defeat of their large kind of logic centers. And you do so by controlling 2B, and she dons a flight suit and like a combat uniform for the first time instead of like a sad maid outfit. And she jumps down to the surface to murder all the machines. What did y'all think of the opening of Ending C? Because it is actually distinct from A and B.
Yeah, it's the first time we got something different in one of the runs right off the bat. It was a completely new story, which, doing that after two endings is a bold strategy. Yeah. It was fine. It was more of the flight suit stuff. And then, yeah. I don't want to get too deep into it before we, cover all of our thoughts.
Right. I will say, just as an opening salvo, I support any and all costume changes that this game makes. Really, the only direction to go is up at this point.
That's true. And I guess it was interesting because at the end of Route B, they kind of give a next time on Nier Automata that tells you, like, hey, if you keep playing, the next ending is going to have new content.
Because they have to convince you.
Yes, because they have to convince you, because they've done it to you twice already. And many of the things that they foreshadow in the next time on Nier Automata are in like the first 5 minutes of this ending, it felt like. It seemed like they were gearing up for 2B. The trailer seemed like 2B would be going to war with machines, and there might be some setup, but that's actually just like the beginning of Route C. It just jumps you straight into it, which I thought was an interesting choice, because at the ending of Routes A and B, 2B is alive on the surface of the Earth, and 9S appears to control the machine forces, and it just jumps you into what seems to be moments after that happens, with 2B in the bunker in space, and with 9S back to normal. And so it kind of left me questioning what the hell was the point of the endings of A and B.
And that's just a larger question of what the hell is the point of any of this, right?
I mean, yeah, but what, in terms of actually interpreting the canon here and the through line of logic, what happened with the 9S ending in A and B? Yeah, what happened? How do we get from one to the other? Because it seems like they say Adam and Eve have been defeated, and this is our opportunity to defeat the machines. But it's at the end of Route A and Route B, 9S seems to be in control of the machine forces. So the idea that just gets wiped away because you're fighting the machines and they show no signs of his personality anywhere. It's unclear how we get from one ending to the other.
I mean, part of this is sort of the question I've been asking for a lot of this is they've just been playing sort of fast and loose with the idea of death in this game. You know what I mean? So like the fact that they revert back to, I don't know, not everything's fine necessarily, but it's almost like a sitcom, right? Like nothing really changes from episode to episode. Seems a larger extension of their inability to grapple with the question of like, okay, once you're uploading things from the mainframe, how is that going to change soldiering?
I mean, I would understand that if the ending of Route C was like a completely different time period and it's still like a new story. Like maybe it's 5 years later or something, and they don't even necessarily say it, but it's a new circumstances. But it seems so bang bang after the endings of A and B that the fact that key elements of those endings are nowhere to be found in Route C just led me to feel like the story was disjuncted in a way that made no sense. It actually took me out of the story pretty hard. Did they ever sew up what happened? Like, did the endings of A and B mean anything in terms of changing the circumstances of the game?
Does
I
any?
don't think it did.
I mean, this is, I don't know, jumping ahead or back. I'm not sure at this point with all these timelines. But do they want anything to mean anything? Like, it seems like the Yorha just wants this sort of perpetual, endless war. So, I mean, very well, something might have happened, and Yorha was just like, nope, never mind, reboot it.
Well, they definitely want perpetual war. The Yorha, up until this point, we've already learned that humanity is all dead except for a server on the moon that's got, like, some data, but there's no humans on the moon. And Yorha was basically created to give the androids that exist in this humanless world a purpose, because they would become melancholy and destructive and uncontrollable when they had no goals, because living a permanent, endless existence with no goals and no driving tasks does bad things to a sentient mind. So they basically created Yorha to give purpose to all of these lives. So it makes sense to me that they would be, initiating a new offensive against the machines just to give all of these androids something to do. My question is mostly like, hey, what happened with 9S and the machines? What happened to the version of 2B who was on the ground when the events of A and B finished? Because when she starts, she's in the bunker. And we don't see her re-upload her personality. We don't see her get memory wiped. It's just a hard cut. So it's odd to me to pick up after the events of A and B, but like leave out the most important things that happened in those endings, and then pick up with some of the story beats being canonical. Like Adam and Eve are defeated. Pascal and the Friendly Machine Village was not destroyed. Like, there are certain choices that are now canonical at the beginning of C, but all, like, the most consequential thing that happens in A and B is not. And it just threw me for a loop.
I think that it could be different models of 2B and 9S, but there's no evidence to support that. I don't know, like, in the timeline when they last did a backup to the servers. So it could be that the 9S and 2B that were on the ground are now dead. And these new 2Bs and 9Ss are the ones who are, like, continuing from a backup state, which is why they don't know how Adam or Eve died.
That'd be my explanation too. Or you could even make it more sinister and say, well, the Yorha has access to all the backups. They're just on the server, so they can edit things as they please. But I think we're looking for a solution to a problem that's basically would boil down to, nobody really cared, so they did what they wanted.
Yeah, that's the answer that I'm kind of leaning towards. It just feels like at the end of the game, one of the main characters assumed control of all of the enemy units. And the game picks up immediately after that in the same location where they were fighting before. And now the enemy units are attacking you again, and there's no sign that any of it happened. And it seems, it felt really unsatisfying to have a disjunct that omitted the most important thing that happened in the other ending. So, I understand you can do it from a narrative perspective. It just felt like, why should I give any weight to any of the future stories that you're telling if you clearly don't care about what happened in the last ones? And it felt like I wasted the first 20 hours I spent with this game from a narrative perspective.
Yeah, it's not a good pick. I mean, there's cool stuff you could do with something like that, but you have to do the cool stuff.
Yeah, and I don't mind even the idea that we're going to continue from that moment. Like, you could have hand-waved it. You could have come up with, hey, we destroyed those machines. And 9S's personality was destroyed with them. Like, or actually 9S is the reason why these machines are attacking Yorha. Like, something about learning about Yorha's true purpose drove him mad, and he's attacking you. And that's why all the Yorha units start getting hacked, which is something that happens in this encounter. All of the Yorha units that go down there eventually start getting hacked by a new virus that turns them into enemy units and basically joins them to the machine network. And if it's because 9S is in the machines and he's decided to side with them, or even if it's not side with them, he has a different conception of what Yorha is, so hacking is not necessarily a bad thing in his perspective. You can tell a good story here. I just didn't see it in any of the content I played, and I didn't read it in any of the logs that I read. So I feel like I'm filling in the blanks that the story didn't bother to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of a shame, because there's so much of it.
There sure is a lot of it.
So you land with 2B, you go through a flight sequence, you start fighting your way through the destroyed city, trying to you back up some Yorha units. Did any of you save any of them?
I saved the first one, and then the rest of them died.
I saved none of them.
Yeah, I didn't manage to. I mean, I didn't really care that much about it, to be honest with you. But I didn't protect any of them.
Yeah, I tried. I just didn't level very much during my 9S playthrough. I ran by all of the enemies, and I didn't do a good job of equipping chips, so I was under-leveled and understated. So it wasn't that I couldn't kill the enemies, because the gameplay in this game is very, very easy. It was just I couldn't kill them fast enough for the Yorha units to not run into the maw of the enemies and just get murdered by accident.
Mm-hmm. What level were you at this point? Do you recall?
I want to say, 20s?
Oh, fuck. Rest in peace.
Well, no, because the game's not hard. You just don't get hit. But my damage output was just low.
Yeah.
So it took me a while I was whittling away at them with a tiny little pocket knife.
Mm-hmm.
And, the enemies were able to kill. They would just swing at me, miss, but then hit the Yorha units, because the Yorha units basically run up against the enemies and rub their faces in them when they attack. They don't use dodge moves at all.
They sure don't.
Yeah, and that leads to an encounter where 2B goes to save one final Yorha unit, but the enemies break out EMPs for the first time, which seems like a useful tool. They probably should have been using that more in a combat situation where everything's machines.
It hurts them too, so they're probably not wanting to use that too often.
I don't know. I mean, when they started using it, it seemed like it didn't hurt them at all.
Yeah. Who knows? We're trying to put logic to nonsense.
That's true. So, 2B gets knocked out by an EMP blast. 9S shows up to save the day. But when 2B and the rest of the Yorha units get kind of rescued and protected by 9S, they boot up, and many of the Yorha units are exhibiting a virus of some kind. 9S can hack into them and remove the virus, but when he finally revives 2B, all of the other Yorha units turn on them and attack them as though they are the enemy, because this new logic virus makes them view other androids as the enemy. And that leads to, I think, a kind of cool sequence where you can't fight back against them because they are identified as Yorha units, so you can't swing at them. So you have to hack yourself to disable enemy targeting systems so you can attack enemies. Or Yorha units as if they were enemies. Did either of you think this would be a setup for storytelling purposes?
That might end up being relevant in the future content?
Yeah.
And then it wasn't?
I thought, hey, all of a sudden everyone's treating us as an enemy and we need to break our targeting system so we can attack the people who should be our allies. Maybe it's a situation where we're the bad guys.
Ooh.
Maybe we're the people who's going rogue. Maybe 9S is leading us down the wrong path. Maybe there's subtlety to this storytelling.
I just started
No.
assuming everything was setups at a certain point. Like, because nothing was ever subtle. So I just assumed like, oh, this must clearly be a reason for something. Oh, they named the androids Adam and Eve. Like, okay, everything's everything all the time, always.
Yeah, and I kept thinking that some of these very implausible or all too convenient storytelling moments, one of them would eventually be a rug pull, and they never were. They were just always the most straightforward, overt explanations. And like the aliens creating a race of machines, I was like, oh, that must be, those aliens look chintzy. This is kind of a dumb explanation for where the machines came from. The idea that humanity was wiped out in an eternal war with aliens, that seems dumb. This seems like a setup. But no, actually those aliens were aliens. They created machines because they did. And that's how the story went.
Yep.
So this was yet another moment.
If you listen to CP's explanation, apparently there was more nuance to that. The humans weren't even on Earth at the time because they already died.
Yes.
And then there were just robots running around.
Might be worth mentioning, I actually went back and read the story of Nier to try and catch up on what the heck happened, because Project Gestalt and Devila and Popola didn't make a lot of sense if you just pick up Nier. And it's clear that they're supposed to be meaningful to you. And the original Nier, spoilers for the original Nier, do you want me to explain the setup for this game?
Will it be coherent?
I can make it quick.
Can I understand it?
Will it be useful?
It will, I think, set up some of the explanations of what's going on. It's as coherent as a JRPG can be when it's on the less coherent side of storytelling.
Let's discuss.
Okay, so the original Nier, there's a man named Nier. He's got a daughter whose name doesn't matter. And his daughter is sick with a disease that is slowly killing her. He goes around the world trying to defeat these shadow creatures that he needs to defeat to get like keys to unlock some MacGuffin that will save his daughter. And it turns out, Devila or Popola is the like mayor of the village that he lives in, or the leader of the village, and it's Popola. Like, well, they're androids, so it's a Popola.
So they are all still androids at this point.
So Devila and Popola are androids, it turns out.
Okay.
Nier and his daughter and all the humans in Nier are not humans. They are basically shells that are supposed to hold the souls of humanity. They were supposed to basically be empty bodies to put the jelly. They were the donut, and the human soul was the jelly.
Sure. All this makes perfect sense so far. Absolutely.
They were going to fill the bodies with the jelly so that humanity could be reborn, because regular humans had all died out or were dying out. So they were going to solve this problem by separating the soul from the body, and then they were going to recombine them. But the souls became the shadows that you've been fighting. They became corrupted, and the bodies gained sentience all their own.
Oh.
So they rejected the souls because they had grown their own souls, like in Kingdom Hearts.
It all comes back to Kingdom Hearts, always.
As it should. The text.
So, Nier, it turns out, the Nier in that game is a body that's supposed to take on a soul, and he kills a bunch of these souls, which means that humanity's doomed because the original human souls are destroyed, and the bodies that exist without the souls are dying to a disease that's killing them, and so they eventually all die out, and Devila and Popola was supposed to watch over all of these bodies and souls and make sure that this process worked, and she didn't. And she ends up, like, helping doom humanity. So those two sisters basically end up watching humanity fall into oblivion. And that's the setup for this game, because it's after humanity has fallen, and humanity, see them basically die in Nier, which means that, like ZP said in the Discord, humanity's already dead by the time the aliens show up. It's just androids needing a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And so they fight the machines. Does that help add any context to this at all? I mean, it explains some story beats. I don't know if it makes anything more potent.
No, I don't think it changes the central shortcomings of this game as story, but
it
it's
just
cool.
makes it into
Nice
a
mythology.
black comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it more of a black comedy, and it adds a lot of proper nouns and factoids, but the overall message and takeaways, I think, are the same, and you don't need to play Nier to get the most out of Nier Automata. It just makes some characters not complete non-sequiturs. But Devil and Popola work, I think, even without that. In this game... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. You go.
No, I was going to say, so you get hacked, then 2B defeats all of the enemy Yorha units, but then 2B starts to get hacked by the virus again, and she sends 9S away and starts succumbing to the virus, which makes you slowly lose mobility and lose functionality, and your screen gets screwed up, and you're kind of trying to walk as far away from other Yorha units as possible so that you don't infect anyone else. But then you succumb, and before you completely lose your mind, A2, the robot, the android who showed up for 2 seconds in routes A and B, shows up. She's a lady with a katana. She saves 2B from a bunch of enemies, and then basically kills 2B, and 2B asks to be killed, and A2 kills her, and takes her sword, which when she takes her sword also gives her all of 2B's memories, basically. Because all their weapons carry their memories. Also, their servers carry their memories, and their bodies carry... Their memories are everywhere.
Well,
Everything is memories.
2B transfers her memories to her sword so that A2 can have it. I think it's not usually stored there.
I remember a line of dialogue that said that memories of Yorha units are contained in their weapons.
Sure, why not?
Why not? They're machines. They're robots.
Yep.
Their sword is on the Wi-Fi, and it's on the same network, so whatever. The black box has their memories. Their swords have their memories. Their memories are everywhere. So
there's
A2,
a lot of things that have their memories, but then they always seem to end up coming back without some of them.
Yeah.
So
You think with all this redundant storage, people would remember things more.
Yeah, but instead they're just constantly losing their memories. So 9S shows up just in time to watch 2B get killed by A2. He then swears revenge on A2 and falls down a big rickety bridge. And you then get to choose, because the 2 pods, the little robot buddies that have been following 2B and 9S for the first 2 playthroughs, basically start talking to each other. They start gaining some sentience, and they start debating about who they should follow and protect. And so you get to choose between whether you want to play as A2 or 9S for a few bits.
Yep.
How did y'all find playing as A2? Oh, go ahead.
Before we talk about that, is this the moment when the tower rises?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
That's a good point. A giant white tower that looks like it's made of the same material that Adam was making an underground town out of, rises out of the ground and dominates the landscape. And it's ominous, and you can't enter it. It's got security around it, but an invisible barrier kind of security that you clearly need to hack into.
And this is also the moment that we get the title shot.
Yes.
Which, 20 hours into the game, this is where the actual game begins. It's incredible.
The chutzpah to do this. It's boundless chutzpah energy. How do you do... How? Pete, thoughts on the late title card?
I guess this would be the reverse of in media res. You start so far from the actual story that eventually everybody just gives up before they even get there. I mean, this is like, you know what I think of it more as? It's like in movies when people say the title of the movie at like some point in the film. I think it's like that, but the worst possible version of that.
Yeah. It feels almost like if the first Harry Potter novel was about Harry's like uncle and what his
Hanging
daily
out.
life is like, and then it jumps into like the day he adopts Harry, and it's just his regular ass life, right? It's just him going getting groceries, having a miserable time because he's a miserable person, and then Harry Potter shows up, but the book is named Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone still. And you're just befuddled for 200 pages. And then it's like, and then Harry Potter moved into my house. Boom.
That would be incredible.
Oh yeah, that would be just like this. You would have to appreciate the chutzpah, but it would probably be storytelling malpractice.
Yep.
Back to the storytelling malpractice. We get to choose between 9S and A2. What did you think of playing as A2?
It's fine. I mean, has anyone really been sticking around here for the combat? Like, that's not what's carrying me through the game at this point. I mean, she's just as hack and slash and scantily clad, although less schoolgirly as the game.
She is even more scantily clad.
That's true.
She's wearing just like not even a leotard. It's built into her like robot body.
Yeah, it's
It
like
looks
the
like.
tightest one-piece bathing suit you could possibly conceive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and somehow there's a little bit of fabric that's like flowing off the bottom that makes a heart shape with her butt line.
It's incredible.
Yeah, the character designs continue to be the character designs. I found A2 to at least be a breath of fresh air because she's the most aggressively slanted character. All of her animations are fast. Her dodge isn't just a dodge, it's also a dash, which I appreciated. Like, if I could have played as her the entire time, I would have enjoyed this game more. Because playing as 9S sucks. But somehow, in this section, they decided they would split it between the best playing character in the game and the worst playing character in the game. And every time I had to play as 9S, I hated it. But what are you going to do? It's the end of the game. You're fighting the same enemies 25
Is
hours.
it the end of the game?
It's no.
How do we know when the end of the game is?
That's true.
The game is forever.
It's ended twice before.
We are now trapped in the loop.
Yep.
So I played as A2 first. When you do that, you kind of go first to the desert to go fight machines, because A2, her only goal is to kill as many machines as possible, and there are more machines there. So the pod tells you, go there, kill some machines. You fight a big boss. Then A2 has a problem with one of her fans, so she needs to get a fuel filter or something replaced. So you go back to the Resistance Village, you run into Pascal, who's getting attacked by machines. You can save Pascal. Did anyone kill Pascal here?
If you kill Pascal, yeah, it ends the game immediately.
Yeah, so there's some
That is one of the bad
endings.
endings.
I was going to say, so it's the best ending possible in this particular run?
I mean, you
Yes,
could actually
you
end the
kill
game
Pascal.
earlier in this run.
Yes. You could end this game any number of ways. You could just take out your OS chip if you really wanted to.
Yeah, it could end at any time.
And yet, we didn't.
And yeah, we didn't. We persevered. So you find Pascal, you learn about the friendly machines. When you get to the Resistance Village, they tell you we can't actually make the part you need. The machines can. So you go to the Machine Village. They tell you, hey, go do a fetch quest for us. We need you to get this, tree bark so we can make you the part you need. So that sends you back into the forest with all of the knights, because even though the king is dead, they are still there, and they are mad about their king getting killed.
Yeah.
So you fight your way through there, you get the tree bark you need, you go back to the friendly machine village, drop it off. They say, we're going to make you the part, but could you first talk to our villagers so you can understand our peaceful way of life? A2 talks to some of them. She's pretty nonplussed by it. Thought it was kind of funny and cute, her trying to understand, because she hates machines so much. And it's like, oh, they're like people. They're like me. I didn't talk to very many of them, because I wanted the game to be over at this point.
I wanted to be released from this torment.
I mean, it was interesting to see her talk to the machines, but she's not very verbose. And the machines say such boilerplate, things. I'm happy, I just like living, that I got the point. You know, I got what they were getting at. At this point, you get sent on another fetch quest, I think?
That'd be what I would guess, yeah. If I didn't know what happened, fetch quest.
Oh, you get Pascal the book? Is that at this point?
You get a book of philosophy. She wants you to get a book of philosophy from the Resistance Village. And this leads to one of the best lines, I think, in the game. Pascal reads, let me just find it. Yeah, Nietzsche. Pascal says, it seems Nietzsche was quite a profound thinker. Or he skipped past profound and went right to crazy instead.
I mean, historically pretty accurate. He was dying of syphilis.
And apparently Pascal, the philosopher, had beef with Nietzsche. So it's doubly appropriate that Pascal would be reading Nietzsche and then dunking on him.
I don't remember. So, I have a half-formed memory of when Nietzsche was teaching, nobody would take his classes. Just he was really pissed off about other philosophers on the faculty because they liked him, they liked everybody else way more than him. I can't remember if that's true or if I just made it up, though. I hope it's true because it's funny.
Let's spread that here if it's not true.
Yeah. Tell all your friends.
Yes. Write it in your book reports. So from here, you get a book of philosophy, but during the time when you're fetching the book, Pascal's village comes under attack by enemy robots who have gone mad with robot fever or something.
Does anyone have an explanation? Fever is going around. It's actually villagers who basically just go crazy and then start eating other robots. We had this happen at the end when Adam and Eve died. The robots just started to lose, they reverted back to just base consuming other robots. With their rusty mouths, and I don't know what the point was.
They get mouths. They become zombie robots.
Yes.
Do we ever get an explanation of why?
Nope.
Not that I can remember, no. Were you expecting one?
I didn't find one. I wanted an explanation because sometimes robots were zombies, sometimes they weren't. If you went to the playland, the amusement park section, all the robots there have the zombie mouths, and some of them are talking like zombies and about eating other robots, but they don't attack you. They're still all friendly. And yet in Pascal's village, every robot that exhibits that sort of zombie mouth and red eyes is just savagely attacking other machines. And when you're fighting your way through there, none of them turn or show passivity. So even inside of the game, when they are trying to exhibit that there is something going on with the machines, it's not uniform. It's not coherent. It's not cohesive. Things happen because the story needs it to. Characters turn on each other because the story requires it. Characters are freed from their manias or freed from their viral attacks, whether it's a technological explanation or a psychological explanation. Whenever a character needs to get over a trauma, they do because the story wills it to be so. And in this case, Pascal's village is destroyed because the story requires Pascal's village to be destroyed. There's no real coherence. They're not attacked by an outside village. They're ultimately attacked by themselves, but it's not even that some of the robots see a problem with their pacifist ways. They just get a case of the robot madness and just burn the village to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really unsatisfying. I found the friendly robot village to be the nicest place in the game, and having it burn down just so that Pascal can feel sad with no real explanation for why felt like a waste.
Yep.
No conflicting thoughts here, no. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm not
True.
particularly shocked by anything the story does at this point. I mean, it feels like they had like an end point in mind, and they're just like, all right, throw everything at it until we get there.
Yeah.
And I want to, if we, in a close reading, I would like to infer intent here, like that the robots were driven to do this because of some flaw in their logic or something about the network corrupting them. And I think that that's the explanation they're going for, that something in the network is causing these robots to go mad, but it's not impacting all of them, and it's not impacting all of them the same way. And it's even the robots that seem to be showing madness exhibit it differently. So there's no way of pegging it to any one thing.
Yeah, and specifically Pascal's village. Earlier, Pascal says that they are not on the network. So it's clearly not a network issue, because none of those robots are on the network. So I don't know, how did we get here?
Or you could even say, like, one of them got on the network.
Uh-huh.
And then this happened.
And then a logic virus happened.
Yeah.
What is a logic virus? We don't know. It's been used a bunch. No explanation. It's bad.
At least that's an in-story explanation for why this would have happened out of nowhere. Because we've repelled multiple attacks on Pascal's village, and this one came from inside. And the idea that this is now the one thing that brings this village down after what seems to be centuries of passivity, because time seems to work very differently in this world because everyone's immortal.
Yeah.
And Pascal says that he's been around since the dawn of, like, the network almost. He's been around for a very long time. And that this would happen out of nowhere and he wouldn't see it coming. And it doesn't impact him. Like, it impacts everyone he cares about except the children and him.
Yeah. Well, it'll impact him in about 20 minutes.
Kind of. So A2...
Depending on what you choose.
Oh, well, A2 defeats all of the corrupted villagers. Then Pascal takes all of the children to the old abandoned factory where all of the death cult used to be, and holds up there because now the enemy machines are coming for them for, again, reasons. And A2 has to defend them. And Pascal decides to discard his pacifistic ways and go out and defend his family with A2. This leads to Pascal revealing that the entire time he's had a dope-ass energy cannon that he could have been using, but didn't. Like in all those other sequences where Pascal was trying to help 2B and 9S defend civilization, he could have been helping, but wasn't. But now
Pacifism.
Yeah. Pacifism until now. So you fight a bunch of waves of machines. That's pretty easy. And then they just keep coming. And Pascal says enough's enough. And he hacks into one of the big robots that you were fighting. The giant robots with, like, cranes for arms. And uses it to destroy all of the oncoming machines.
The angles is what they're called. And their arm thing is marks, I think.
Is it?
I think so.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Toss him in there too. Why not? We got everybody else.
Yeah.
The gang's all here. Their missiles are called Lenin. Why not?
Anyway,
so what did you
big
think of this
robot
section?
fight. You fight a big robot.
fight?
Did we do that before? Do we take
robot
control
fight?
of one of those big robots? Or do we just have the arm?
When you're 9S, you grab the arm and you use the arm to beat one of the robots to death.
Yeah. The big robot fight was just like, if I hit the button before the other one is swinging, I will probably hit it first. And you just do that like 4 times. It's cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the most engaging gameplay, but as a change of pace, I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I mean, I was desperate for novelty, in the second run? We're in the third now. Like, sure, feed me all the newness. Put a Tetris simulator in the middle. I don't care. Give me something.
Yeah, give me more text adventures.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fine.
There will be some.
There will be some, that's true. So you defeat this giant machine, and then when you go back in to recollect all the children, of course they're going to be okay. You open the door, and all of the children machines have killed themselves. And we learned that the machines, as long as their cores are intact, they can be rebooted, but all of them have stabbed themselves in the cores, which means they cannot be rebooted. They are dead for real, and that is because Pascal taught them of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And by teaching them about fear, it caused them to commit suicide rather than face destruction at the hands of the other robots.
Yeah.
Did you find that to be a satisfying explanation?
I mean, does that make them more human, I guess? I don't know. My main question with this was one of mental circuitry, right? So, I could describe to you echolocation all I wanted. You could know everything there is to know about echolocation, and you still wouldn't be able to echolocate. So this is actually a pretty famous philosophical problem. I forget the technical name for it, but usually they always use somebody called Mary. And Mary's a cognitive scientist who knows everything there is about the color red, right? You describe everything about red. She could talk about wavelengths, retinas, everything, but she's never seen red. So the moment she sees something red, she has a new piece of datum or a new datum. I don't know. She knows something new. She knows what it's like to experience red. So I see echoes of that philosophical problem here, right? The machines can know everything there is to know about fear, but are they capable of feeling fear? Have they ever felt fear? I mean, suddenly, just having information doesn't necessarily equate to an emotional response.
Sure, they conceptually understood fear, but until they experienced it, they were not prepared to deal with it. Though even the concept of a child machine is a bit fraught, because
weird, yeah.
It seems like you could just upload information into these machines, and you see Pascal having them read and learn things so that they can grow up. So the idea of being a child machine makes very little sense, even in the context of this world. And so teaching them of fear and then having them not driven to commit suicide due to experiencing fear, overwhelming fear. I understand what the storytellers were going for, but it didn't resonate with me. I didn't feel like it made sense within the context of the situation that these child machines would immediately, Pascal's gone for that fight took 5 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah.
10 minutes, and they've all immediately killed themselves. The game was violently hurtling towards the conclusion that they clearly wanted to have, and by this point, they're just offing characters because they need to die. And it felt like the village just had to be destroyed, 2B had to be destroyed, not Pascal needed to be taken out of the way, and so this was the reason to have Pascal's story end. Because once the children have killed themselves, Pascal says, I can't live with the guilt of these children killing themselves. The rest of the villagers could go fuck themselves, but these kids, that's too much for me. The millennia-old machine who's seen people live and die over and over and over again. This is too much. You need to either remove these memories from my head manually or kill me. But I can't live like this. What did y'all do?
I mean, the way this unfolded sort of negated any interest in this dilemma. Like, I was just so annoyed by all the things you just described. I was like, I'll just kill Pascal. But ultimately, I was like, well, why not just remove the memories? I mean, then Pascal gets to at least continue on. Seemed like a reasonable choice to me.
What happens if you remove Pascal's memories?
Not much. I mean, she just forgets things, or he forgets things.
He falls over and goes to sleep, and you get a scene later on where he's in the village and there's no one else around, and he looks up at you firing into space. That's all.
So Pascal is just there, doesn't remember everything, and continues on?
Pretty much. Yeah.
In the empty village. I just walked away.
Same.
At that point, yeah.
You don't have to do either of those. You can just leave. And Pascal's like, you're really...
Wait, seriously? You can just bounce?
Yeah,
you
I just left.
Walk away.
That's awesome. I should have thought of that.
Yeah, I was
Pascal's like, damn, alright.
You're gonna leave me like this? You can't, A2. And I was like, nah, I really can, though. Turns out, because from a narrative perspective, the idea that this ancient machine, this moment would be too much. And, like, Pascal's the only leader we've seen among the machines that isn't a homicidal lunatic. And so having that machine lose its memories and stop being the leader that he was seemed like a much worse punishment than it seemed like it would doom a potential line of progress in machine kind. And I felt like my option should be talk to Pascal about learning from mistakes and trying again and moving on. But the game presented me with two options to basically end Pascal's life one way or another. And I just said, well, if these are the choices, I'd rather Pascal be sad and alive and learn from this than dead one way or another, either mentally gone or physically gone. But of course, the game doesn't really respect that choice either, because if you walk away from Pascal, Pascal is then gone from then on, as though you had killed him. So and he hates you. So it's not a great choice. They offer you the option, but when you do it, there's no story payoff. It treats it as though you just killed him.
He hates A2. 9S is fine, I guess.
Well, we never see Pascal again, so we, I guess, don't know Pascal's stance on 9S, on 9s. At this point, the game picks up from 9S's perspective, if you picked A2 first, and 9S is mad.
Yeah, he is pissed.
He immediately goes to check out the new tower that has sprung up. A2 is pretty disinterested in the tower because she can't get in, but 9S goes up and tries to hack the tower, and it turns out he can't hack it because it's got a firewall or something, and you need to get keys in order to open the tower, and there means you have to go to some locations on the map and get these keys. You need to go to the meat box, the soul box, and the god box, which are good names for locations. The meat box is in the forest, and when you go there, it's basically this large tower made of machine parts that seems to be processing destroyed machines into something, and the meat box is basically a bunch of arena battles, and you have to fight the same enemies you've been fighting for the rest of the game, but more of them. You get items in there, which are kind of good. And at the top of the meat box, when you finally get there, you find a little machine that begs for its life. Because all the machines are kind of sad in that way in this game. And 9S immediately murders it and picks up the key that you need. Then you need to, I think, get 9S some repairs from the Resistance Village because you've been fighting so much, and your pod says, hey, you need to chill a little bit on the killing.
Yeah, the pod becomes the voice of reason for an increasingly unhinged 9S.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so it tries to talk you out of going and murdering stuff.
Yeah, and there are cutaways every so often of the two pods talking to each other, and every time 9S's pod is like, this dude is losing it. He needs some help. Is there a therapist we can talk to?
Like talk to your HR.
Yeah.
You just need some work here. Is there there's definitely a thing going on between the two pods, yeah? Like there seems to be a romantic energy between them.
You think so?
I think so.
Yeah,
I like to think
am
that
I
pods
shipping
fuck.
them? Am I just projecting on this?
Now, it's clear that the pods are gaining sentience if they haven't attained it already. And
they even say, I think we're getting some sentience. You're like, yes, thank you for telling me that.
Yeah,
I
all the
hadn't
machines
realized.
in this game do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 9S, you go to the Resistance Village, you get cleaned up, they wipe your nose, Pollum and Porum, Devila and Popola, heal 9S, and they're like, 9S, we're worried about you, but go keep doing whatever you're doing.
Let's not actually talk about it.
Yeah.
We don't want to discuss right now. Finish your job.
Let's just foreshadow some stuff.
Yeah.
What if we speak cryptically in the back half of this game instead?
Mm-hmm.
So you go to the soul box. This one is all hacking. And when you hack a bunch of the treasure chests in the soul box, it gives you some information about Yorha. And it turns out that Yorha was set up. We already knew that it was a front and basically was just there to give androids purpose. But it turns out that Yorha had a backdoor built into the bunker that would let the bunker be destroyed when the moment was right. And all of the androids in Yorha were disposable.
Oh, shit. Did we mention the bunker's gone?
No. The bunker gets destroyed in like the first 30 minutes.
The bunker got blown up. Yeah. We went back to the bunker and everything was infected, and then we were trying to escape with the commander, and then she was infected, and then she blew up the whole bunker, and that's not a factor anymore. That's the whole thing.
And again, I thought that when they re-uploaded themselves to the bunker, it would have been them spreading the virus, but it's unclear if that was even the case. If 2B and 9S communicated the virus to the bunker. And
it would have been
that
nice
is the case,
if they explained that.
Yeah, if someone could email in and explain if that is indeed the case, that is fine. That would be nice to know. Maybe I need to trawl around the Nier Automata wiki. But in playing the game regularly, which is how we approach this show, none of that was readily apparent. It all seemed to be inferred to me. So from here on, you go to the soul box, you learn about Yorha being a front, you kill another little machine, you get another key, then you go to the God box, and in the God box, you do the same thing, fight some enemies, get to the top, get the key. At the God box, did you have to... Is that where A2
God
is also there? That's the third key. I remember...
Is she there? I think it's the tower where she meets up with him.
Okay. Because I remember one of the machines saying, like, whoever gets to this spot first will get a reward.
Right. And then you never cross paths with each other.
Yeah. Well, from this point, 9S hacks the tower. Once you hack the tower, you hack these 3 subunits, and then when you try to hack the main unit, endless machines start spawning, and then Devila and Popola show up, and they're like, I got your back. They take out some 6 swords and start one-shotting enemies all over the place, because apparently they're the baddest assist fighters in the game.
Mm-hmm.
When the time's appropriate. They didn't do shit when the Resistance Village was getting attacked by cannibal machines, but they decide that now they need to fight. And when they do so, they destroy all these machines, they cover for you, 9S hacks into the tower, but then at the last moment he can't complete the hack, so Popola sacrifices herself to get 9S into the tower. And basically the two of them sacrifice themselves so that the story can progress.
Mm-hmm. Because everyone has to die.
Yes. 9S at this point learns some stuff about Devila and Popola. Did you watch the little vignette about them where it becomes a text adventure for like a minute.
It's so long.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. That
God,
went
it goes
on
on forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is where, if you played Nier, it kind of ties together, because Devil and Popola they are models of Android, and these two Devilas and Popolas were just watching the gestalts and the replicants, and they were doing their job properly, but the Devil and Popola that are in Nier screw it up for everyone and doom humanity, and so all Devila and Popola models are branded as enemies by other androids, and so they are basically discriminated against from then on.
Damn, android racism.
Yeah, they got that android racism for the pink-haired androids.
Mm.
And Devil and Popola are like, we could have been lonely, but they made sisters, so we weren't lonely because we had each other. And that gave me the strength to fight on.
Well, that's nice.
And they said that they were programmed with unending guilt because of what the other Devil and Popola did, and so they wanted to make amends. They decided that their life was going to be dedicated to making amends for the other models of them that fucked up. So that's why they sacrificed themselves. There's your explanation. You fight your way up the tower. 9S just murders a bunch of Yorha units without regard. A2 will follow him shortly, and when A2 comes in, she's like, wow, there's a lot of fucking dead Yorha units. 9S is going on a killing spree, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Which, I feel like A2 being the person who says that is really out of character.
Really telling.
Yeah.
Like, when you run into A2, they tell you she's murdered a bunch of Yorha units, so it's really pot calling the kettle black here. And this is, I think, where they're supposed to be implying that 2B's mind and memories are kind of impacting A2. At least that's what I read into
together.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
She's starting to become more caring for others, and she's caring about 9S in a way that she didn't before. You fight your way up, and first 9S has to fight a bunch of 2B models and kill all of them, and he's unhinged, so he's like, it's okay, 2B, I'll kill you.
Yeah. I'll set you free.
Yeah. He murders a bunch of 2B units, and after he's murdered all of them, the ground collapses underneath him, and he gets damaged. He loses an arm, so he cuts an arm off a 2B unit and installs it on himself, and that causes him to become infected with the virus. But he hacks himself to defeat the virus so he can use that infected arm, which looks rad as hell, I will say. At this same time, A2 is getting into a library in the tower and learning other dark secrets about Yorha. And you learn that the A2 unit was a prototype that led to the 2B unit, but the A2 unit was too strong or too uncontrollable. So A2 was decommissioned, that model got turned into 2B, but actually it's 2E for elimination.
Ooh, twists on twists.
And the 2E units exist to kill Yorha units.
Yeah.
They're the assassination squad for Yorha units that get too smart. And
why does Yorha build such units in the first place?
Because if they don't have something to get rid of the units that learn that this is all a front for an endless war, just to give robots purpose, they can't continue the cycle. So they have to, yeah.
You know, I get why there are 2E units, given that there are 9S units. My question is, why are there 9S units then? Just make units that aren't smart enough to ever figure it out. Or would that make them combat ineffective in this fake war that doesn't matter who wins anyway?
There's no reason for any of this.
There's no reason for any of this because the story needed it.
Yep.
Right, I forgot.
Dope.
Yeah. Logic no longer exists. That's my fault again. I apologize.
Did you consider that the answer is because it's dope?
Anime bullshit.
Why do they wear blindfolds? Because it's
dope.
Yeah. Hey, you know why Pen Pen is in Neon Genesis Evangelion? Because a penguin that lives in an apartment is cool as hell.
Nice.
That's it.
Dope.
You got me.
I was thinking about that in every scene that fucking penguin showed up in.
Yeah, and there's never an explanation for that. Spoilers, there's no explanation for Pen Pen. Pen Pen's just there.
Mm-hmm.
Just like in this game, there's 9S units because there must be. The 2E units exist to kill 9S's, and that's why 2B killed 9S over and over and over again, even though over and over and over again in the context of this game is like once. And every other time that 2B kills 9S, it was a self-sacrifice to take out a larger enemy. So I would only say, like, at the end of the game where 9S is being corrupted and says, "Kill me, 2B," that's the only time 2B killed 9S in a way that seemed like an assassination? So even the explanation here seems tenuous to me.
But he asked for it, so...
I know.
Is it like a psychology thing? Is 2B there to trick 9S into thinking that he has to be killed?
I don't know. The explanations, like, it was a twist, but it didn't explain anything. Like, it was information, but it didn't give new understanding to the scenes that occurred before, because all of them were completely reasonable in context. None of them seemed like assassinations. Not a single one. Not once. Like, you could have had one that felt a little suspect. Like, 2B, you're really killing him too quickly here. Why are you killing him?
Yeah.
Like, they step off the base and, like, immediate head slit. Just like, nope, done. He found out. Screw it.
Yeah. Or, like, 9S asks a question that seems like a little bit too... Because he asks some questions where it's like, it looks like you're asking a question that the government wouldn't like you to ask. But 2B never does anything about it until, like, the apocalypse is happening, and then she's fine with killing him when he asks to die.
Here's my question. Does 2B know that she is a 2E model? Like,
yes.
Okay.
I think so, because she cries every time she has to, like, when she kills him in endings A and B, she's like, I hate every time. Why does it always have to end like this? Like, she's crying because she always kills him. And she hates it.
So why do any of this?
You know?
Why are...
It's a question we all have to... I see that's the genius of this game. Is it makes you ask the same existential questions that your high units must do. Clearly this is all meaningless. Why do I...
We are also in the Sisyphean hell that is Nier Automata.
Automata. Thank you.
Fuck.
I'm coming around. This might be the greatest gaming experience ever designed, now that I think about it.
Yeah, it replicates a sense of meaninglessness. That is what it is designed to do. It brings it about in its subjects. So you keep fighting your way through the tower. This leads you to fight this, like, ball robot again, which is the same ball robot that you fought at the end of the cult section in endings A and B. But in this case, there are two of them, and 9S and A2 are fighting them simultaneously. Like, there's sections where 9S is fighting it in a flight unit, and then there's sections where A2 is fighting it on the ground, and eventually the game, like, starts cutting back and forth. And, there's also a section where 9S fights a flight unit squad while he's on the ground, and that's kind of cool. Oh, and he also fights this operator.
Yeah, who is on the ground for some reason.
Yeah, she got an experimental procedure that turned her into a combat unit instead of an operator because she wanted to be closer to 9S because she wanted family.
Wait, what? I don't remember any of that.
She says it while you're murdering her.
Oh.
She'll occasionally snap out of being aggressive and she'll be like, 9S, I did this because I wanted to be close to you. And then you have to keep murdering her. And she's like, I've wanted to have a family. And then you just keep killing her. You eventually kill her. 9S is very unremorseful about killing, I think, his love interest. They flirt, at least.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it.
Yeah, this is how you know he's off the deep end. And A2 shows up, like, immediately after 9S has murdered this unit. Then they get separated again.
Her A2 kills the operator, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She puts the finishing blow on.
Yeah.
To protect 9S.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get the dual boss fights with this giant machine. You keep fighting it, and I thought that was one of the coolest sequences in the game when it kept cutting back and forth between A2 and 9S.
Yeah,
that was the same boss. And it dynamically cuts. There's no load screen. There's no nothing. It just keeps cutting back and forth.
Yeah, it's a camera switch.
My computer could barely handle it.
Yeah.
After that section, you fight the two ball units fuse into one, and then 9S and A2 fight that combined unit together. And again, you're fighting it and jumping between the two characters. After a few seconds, the game will just cut to the other character, and you just assume control of them wherever they were on the screen, which was, again, cool as hell, but very difficult to control.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think their conception ran past the actual practical implementation on that one. Cool in theory, not so great when you're doing it.
But you defeat this robot, you defeat the machine. There was a hacking section we didn't talk about where 9S is in the hacking realm, and there's two red girls who are all of the machine network, and they hack 9S and want to destroy you. And then the pod says, actually, you don't. Oh no, it's A2 who's in the hacking realm.
Yeah.
And A2 runs in these two little girls, and the way to defeat them is to not fight back, because then the machine continues to replicate itself until the pod says, hypothesis, the enemy has become aware of the diversity of life.
What does that mean?
The enemy machine gains self-awareness. There's two self-consciouses inside of the network, and they go to war with each other. One of them wants to destroy all androids, and one of them wants to live with all androids. And so they start fighting each other, and then you defeat the one that survives.
Mm-hmm.
And then
do we know which one survives?
No, because you kill it, right? At the end.
But it doesn't say, I'm the one who wanted to live with androids.
I don't think so.
Oh.
You kill the one that's left, and that's kind of the last of the network that you hear. There's a through line of the network talking to you and saying ominous things, and then it comes to a head with this moment when the network then has a disagreement inside of itself, and you defeat it like it was a regular enemy. Awesome. So after you defeat the two merged robots, then A2 and 9S, you have a choice to make. Do you want to control A2 or do you want to control 9S? And this is how you decide which ending you get. So I went with choosing A2 first. What did y'all pick?
I picked 9S first.
I picked A2. I was sick of 9S and his stupid face.
Yeah, I wanted to kill him.
That's fair. I wanted to get his out of the way.
This is homework now. Let me just finish this.
Honestly.
A2 section is a 3D combat. 9S's is 2D combat, so that's the difference gameplay-wise. If you pick A2, she tries to save 9S, she defeats him, and then has the pods kind of carry him away, and then she embraces death and falls to the ground, and the tower does not fire. The tower is destroyed by A2. So it basically leads to the kind of good ending. 9S survives, A2 dies because she's been seeking death basically forever, because she was the sole survivor of her squad. So she gets the release that she wanted, and the game ends.
But why did it have to be that way? Why couldn't she just, fall on her sword or something at any point in the last, I don't know, millennia that she's been active?
She defeated the machines.
Oh. She wanted to defeat all machines and then die? That was the goal?
Seemed like it. She basically had one motivating source in her life, and that was just murder all the machines.
She was motivated by hatred, and once her task was complete, she could rest.
I guess.
And then on the 9S side, if 9S wins, he and A2 fight to the mutual death. They both kill each other. They put their swords through each other, and then 9S... A2 could defeat 9S, but is stopped by 2B's memories, and then 9S takes that opportunity to stab her, and then he gets stabbed, and they both bleed out on the ground together. And then 9S, in his fleeting moments, is contacted by the Machine Network, and they ask him if he wants his memory to be shot. They're shooting a rocket with, all of machine knowledge at the moon.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a missile, it's an arc. And It's going to spread machine life forms into space. And Adam and Eve are there, somehow. And they ask if he wants to be added to the rocket, basically. And you can choose yes or no. In any case, the game ends with the rocket getting shot at the moon. The end.
Yeah, and that's it.
Those are the endings.
Thank you for playing Nier Automata.
What did we learn from these two endings? Anything?
Any takeaways? What didn't we learn? We learned the real robots were the friends we made along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these two endings, I found playing A2 and 9S more enjoyable in this section of the game, but everything was moving so quickly because they clearly wanted to get to this ending, and I don't know why. Because I found this ending to be the least satisfying of all of the endings. C and D, where they die or don't because of a giant tower that appears out of nowhere.
No explanation for the tower. Where that tower came from, we have no clue.
They kill all of the characters that seemed interesting, or all of the characters that they clearly just foreshadowed for this ending, like A2 and Pascal and Devil and Popola. All of these characters that are foreshadowed in endings A and B, they then give very little development to in C and D, and then kill them. So I had a hard time relating or caring about any of them. It felt like the story was washing over me, and it was because it was moving very quickly. Maybe if I had played more side quests, it would have paid off more. Like, Emil is around in this section of the game, the little skull man.
I never actually ran into Emil again. Did you?
Yeah, he drives a little car.
Yeah.
And if you shoot him with your pod, he stops, and you can talk to him, and he's a shopkeep.
Yeah, he's a merchant. He's basically like the traveling merchant in Fallout.
Oh, where is he? Where'd you run
He
into
just drives around on the map.
Yeah, you just find him in random
I literally
places.
never saw him.
I saw him twice.
Mm-hmm.
But he's just a merchant.
He didn't give you any more information? Like why anything?
Nope. He just sold me stuff.
You want information. That's cute. That's nice.
Emil is also from Nier.
Yeah, this is another thing that ZP was very adamant about telling us in the Discord. Emil was very important.
Not here.
He sure had something happen to him in Nier 1, and then shows up. He used to be a little robot boy, wearing some very fashionable schoolboy clothes, and now he is just a head.
Yeah, he gets turned into a skull head in the original Nier, and he shows up here. But he has almost no story importance in this game, to my knowledge, unless there's some side quests that flesh these characters out. But again, in your 40-hour game, if you're telling me that the good storytelling's in the side quests, go fuck yourself. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I can't.
It's a shame you didn't do all those side quests in this 40-hour game.
It's a shame I didn't do all of the
Didn't you
quests.
feel like you had a little bit more that you could have done in this world?
You haven't experienced enough.
I wanted to stop the gameplay loop of this game stopped being interesting about 5 hours in.
Mm-hmm.
Dashing around, I found that if you just kept strafing, no enemy could touch you. If you just kept jamming on the evade button and holding down the shoot button, you were functionally invincible. And that worked from the moment I discovered it till the final fight in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of a bummer. Like,
Yeah.
there was a moment in this playthrough where I was fighting with 9S in the hacker realm, and I was fighting an enemy. It was some enemy machine AI. I think it was like the virus that was inside of him, and that virus behaved like Eve.
Mm-hmm.
It, like, had Eve's
Yeah.
move pattern. Exactly, his exact moveset. And I was like, oh, the virus is Eve. I get it. I get that they're going for a storytelling thing here. But they don't do any good explanation of how or why. It's just, these things happen, and I pick up on there being cues here. But explaining that the virus is actually Eve doesn't actually explain why it's showing up, and how it's affecting different robots, and how it's getting transmitted, and what does it actually do. I think it makes them nihilistic.
Yeah, I
It
was saying,
was
like,
nihilism.
this could fit into the game's, incredible, forward-thinking, revolutionary paradigm in which we're thrust into the existential despair necessary. Like, we're always looking for teleologies and reasons and things in the real world, but things just happen. So our story should be like that as well. There should be no logic. There should be no unifying conceptions. Things should just happen.
Yeah. And then there's ending E. What did you think of ending E? Now, to get ending E, you need to finish ending C and D and watch the credits for a little bit.
Yes.
So, would you like to explain it? Can I explain it?
Jump in.
Ending E, you're watching the credits after rewatching ending C or D, and the pods stop the credits, and they're like, hold on, is that really how that's gonna end? They're like, you're not satisfied, right? The other pod's like, nah, not really. But we have these orders to delete all the data so we can do it again. And then they're like, nah, let's give them one more try. And so they start up the cycle again, I guess.
Yeah, it's a hard reboot.
All of the Yorha units have died, and they're supposed to delete all of the memories and all traces of Project Yorha because it's reached its natural conclusion where everything about it has ended in death. And so they're supposed to delete all the records, and they refuse to delete all the records because they want 9S and 2B to have a better ending than they got. And so they violate the protocols because they are now sentient beings and are stand-ins for the player, basically. So they say that they're going to attempt to put their memories back together, but it's a dangerous procedure. And the way that it actually in practice happens is you fight your way through the credits.
Yeah.
Like, it's a hacking section, but the credits shoot bullets at you. The names and everything. And as they shoot bullets at you, it's, with the same rules as the hacking section. If you get hit 3 times, you die. But every time you die, it keeps showing, like, messages like, don't you believe that this is all meaningless? Don't you believe that this is all worthless? Life has no meaning. This game has no meaning. And you have to keep saying, I believe that it does, or I believe that there's something here. You have to make a positive affirmation that you want to keep going. And words of encouragement from other people who have finished the game start showing up on the screen as well, and they shout words of encouragement at you to keep going.
Yeah.
Did anyone successfully beat this without assistance?
I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
I think at a certain point, the screen is just so full of bullets, you can't do anything. But I'm bad at bullet hells, so I honestly couldn't tell you if it's possible or not.
I think it's possible. I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain point, if you die enough times, the game will ask if you want assistance.
Yeah.
And when that happens, the commentators whose messages you saw, like, they join you and combine with your unit. And they give you, like, 7 or 8 cursors shooting bullets. you fire like this stream of bullets, and they protect you so that if you get shot, instead of you dying, they die, and a new person steps in and helps you.
Mm-hmm.
So you get this kind of communal experience where you're fighting your way to try and get a real fucking ending to this game. Something that's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool idea, and it's like a terrible shame
It's
that it's
attached
wasted
to all of
here.
this.
Yeah, right. Like, it's like, the option is, I think if I remember correctly, at the very end, you can offer to delete your save data,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't even a sacrifice at this point. I was like, yeah, I will pay you to let me delete my save data.
Yeah, so as you fight, like once you get to the end of it, if you survive, you get the ending you want. Or you get an ending. Like the pods have some great banter where they're trying to reassemble 9S and 2B and give them another chance. And there's a great section where one of the pods is like tried to destroy himself, but he was saved by the other pod.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, like, this is embarrassing. I tried to delete myself, but I can't. And the other pod says, being alive is basically a constant stream of embarrassment.
Yeah.
Which, again, one of the best lines in this game. And they assemble 9S and 2B, and they're going to reboot them. Like, they find arms and legs from all the defeated Yorha units
Mm-hmm.
and cobble them together to try and give them another shot. And the pods have a discussion, like, you know, they're just going to meet ruin again. But one pod's like, you know, a future's not given to you. A future is what you make it. So giving them the opportunity, giving them life, at least presents the possibility of something new happening. And that's worth everything. You know, that's all that matters. And that message is great. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
But fucking A, at the end of this 35-hour game or 40-hour game, to have, like, life has intrinsic value and it's the opportunities in life that make it worth living. You didn't need all this bullshit. And the game, up until, like, even the ending, where you're fighting on in the game saying there's no meaning here, and you have to keep trying to ascribe meaning to this game that won't give you anything. It just refuses. It's a choice.
Friendship is magic, you know? We all learned that on the way.
Yeah, and you can then, after the ending has finished, you can decide that you want to be one. It lets you put a word of encouragement to someone else who's finishing ending E, and then it asks you if you want to be one of those cursors that helps another player finish the game. And if you say yes, they say, oh, but we'll delete all of the stuff you unlocked.
Oh no, God forbid, the sacrifices we must make.
Chapter select, debug mode. You worked so hard for those. Are you okay with giving them up? I was like, wait, you mean I can uninstall this game without any guilt? You will rob me of everything?
Yeah, go for it.
Awesome. Ending E felt like a betrayal of everything this game was going towards, and yet it was the most satisfying ending.
Mm-hmm.
This game felt fundamentally nihilistic, and yet this ending is just friendship is magic, anime, like I'm going to me and my squad will come together and we will overcome even the bleakest of odds because that is the power of friendship.
Yeah, just try one more time and we'll do it together.
You can't do it by yourself, but together we are strong, and we are going to, by force of will, give this a satisfying ending. And it worked for me. Did it work for you? Either of you?
I like I said, I think that the cursor idea is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. That's it. I don't really care about giving 9S another shot at things.
Yeah. I think the story that segment is attached to is so mind-bogglingly fraught with nonsense that they could go around that loop a million more times and it would not affect me in the slightest. But what was the point? Was it just to give another person the chance to complete the game? Like, that's beautiful. But I don't know.
It'd be more valuable if you could delete all your save data to prevent another person from even buying the game.
We
It's
will
like
add more bullets to someone else's.
like it's just like if you delete your save data, we'll increase the price by the next person for $40, so nobody even bothers.
Yeah, or if it turns out that you could delete your save data to be the robot that kills Pascal's village, like you were in.
Would you like to play one more time and be that robot with the bucket from?
Yeah, that's it. That's the only thing you get to do is just dump oil on your dead brother robot.
That comes back also. That makes a reappearance.
They dumped enough oil on him, and he came back strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this game. Final closing thoughts here. We played it.
Yeah,
we sure played.
There's no more.
We made the sacrifice so you listeners don't have to.
This game got really well reviewed, and it's very highly esteemed.
Why?
I don't know. It may, there's an element of trying to create your own meaning in a game where the meaning is hard to find, or in a world where the meaning is hard to find. That message is clear, and it rings as true if you're getting to ending E. And there are just a bunch of messages about AIs gaining sentience and ideas about that I've seen done better in other games that we've played for this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like this podcast we haven't played all the games, but I could immediately list a few different ones. Thomas Was Alone, the Talos Principle. What are some other ones off the top of my head that we've... Final Fantasy IX in some ways gets at some of these similar ideas with black mages.
Shadow of the Colossus. Do the Colossi deserve to live?
Totally. There's so many games that we played with very specifically touching on the same things this one does, and all of them I felt like did it better, or did it in a more interesting way. So I just am left saying... If you're in this game for the anime nonsense, I get it. If you're way into anime nonsense and just are okay with suspending your disbelief, letting the game wash over you, I get it. But playing it and trying to do close readings of it, there are so many barriers that the game erects to those close readings just as a function of the way that the game must be played. You don't get the story unless you do a bajillion side quests that are unfun, and you don't get the full story unless you play through the game for 3 times. It just wastes your time. It doesn't care or respect your time at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't able to get to the ending that I felt was even a little satisfying or interestingly executed until 30 hours in. And I was done with playing it 5 hours in. I've never played a game since... No, that's not true. Final Fantasy 13 disrespects your time a lot. It hates that you have other things to do in your life. But Nier Automata disrespects your time in a similar fashion. At least the baseline of playing Nier Automata is inoffensive. It's just tedious, but I like the gameplay here far more than I like Final Fantasy 13's gameplay. But this might be one of the most disrespectful of your time games I've played for the show.
Definitely. It's absolutely up there.
So with that, Em, do you have any final thoughts?
I've watched a lot of videos about this game in the time that it's taken us to play it. And if you listen to some of these YouTube people talking about it, they're saying all the same things that we are, but they're saying it in a way that makes it sound like it's like Shakespeare. I do not know what they are looking at.
Why?
I I don't know. I don't understand it.
Like, this game seems to dislike you for wanting to play it.
This game, did we get to kill Yoko Taro in the credits? Was
Yes.
that the last? Okay.
Yeah, he was the final boss, basically.
Good. That's my summary. I'm glad.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you like the never-ending Sisyphean torment of these two specific robots and how none of it makes any sense, sure. I mean, I can get behind that. People like Evangelion. So if you like stuff that's ambitious, that makes very little sense, and is just sad all the time, I can get, sure.
To that point, do you find comparisons with Evangelion in this game while we've looked at it in the same time frame?
Yes, I think that there are overlaps thematically between the two works, but I feel like it's disrespectful to Evangelion to compare it to Nier Automata, and I don't especially like Evangelion, but it's playing with things on a higher level. Like, its understanding of depression, its understanding of even religious symbolism, as nonsense as many of the references are in Evangelion, I feel like they are more carefully executed than the name drops of various philosophers that occur in this game. There's a giant stupid robot, and it's named Engels.
Yeah.
Why even do that?
I don't know.
Just
I don't
gibberish.
know.
But, listeners, if you're out there and you have a different opinion on this game, or you want to help make sense of what, maybe we're missing something.
It's also, it's
we're not.
entirely possible that whatever happened in Drakengard's 1 and 2 and Nier Gestalt make
And
all
the
of this
plays.
worthwhile. But playing this in isolation, goddamn.
Yep. So that's Nier Automata. Fun fact about Nier, there was Nier Gestalt, which is the version that came out in America, and that was coming out on the 360 and cross-platform, and it had a protagonist that looked like a grizzled old man, and then in the Japanese-only release of Nier Replicant, he was a younger-looking anime man. And they made the grizzled old man because U.S. and international audiences couldn't appreciate the subtle beauty of the anime man.
Of course.
This is Nier Automata. This is the last time we're going to talk about this game on the show, unless you write in. So do so if you want to. You can do so at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We've got our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast at gmail.com. And you can support the show at patreon.com/deeplistens, get access to our Discord, tell us that we're wrong on a regular basis instead of just the emails that you can send in. So, without further ado, thank you, Pete.
Yeah, I deserve to be thanked. We all deserve to be thanked for the public service we've done here. I think we're happy to put it behind us.
Thank you, M.
Thank you. Thank you both for also playing this game for 30-something hours.
For 30 years.
Yeah, it's been 86 years since we started. I'm tired.
Now it's over.
And now it's over. If you do write in, please explain if you like this game, why you like it, because I cannot see it.
I realized something. I
What?
didn't do my close-up magic trick.
Ah, shit. Do you have one?
Redo the whole
I've
thing.
got one.
Roll it all
Okay.
back.
It's at the end of the show now.
I will edit it. Alright, it's at the end of the show now.
It's at the end of the show now.
Close
well,
us out
if you
with
lasted
a,
this long, here's our close-up magic trick of the day. Can I have do either of you have a $5 bill?
I do. Let me take it out of my pocket right now. Okay, here you go, Gino.
Excellent, thank you. I have taken your $5 bill. Oh man, I just realized, I needed change. I needed 5 singles. What's this behind your ear? 1 single.
Oh.
What?
What's this behind your other ear? 1 single.
Oh, no.
That's 2 singles.
Why were you keeping those up there?
I didn't even know I was.
But I broke... Where'd the other $3 go? What's
I
this
don't know.
in your shoe?
Whoa.
What?
Another single.
That one doesn't count. I was just keeping that there.
That's
What's
not part of the
this?
trick.
What's this in your nose?
Ooh.
Another single.
Gross.
And then if you could please open your mouth.
What is this?
100 pennies.
No.
How does my mouth even hold so many pennies? I didn't even notice.
I'm a great magician. Welcome to our
Damn.
show. This has been Deep Listens. Be astounded.
Where we get into the philosophical import of games.
Yes. And, Em, it's actually your turn to pick what game we do next.
Oh shit. Okay, hold on. Let me look at my Steam library really quick.
Excellent.
I forgot we're gonna have to pick another game.
You thought that we were playing Nier Automata forever?
Yeah, we were just starting over again at the beginning.
I was stuck in this Nier Automata loop, and
We decided that we were going to dedicate our save files to helping other players finish the game forever.
did you guys do that?
Yeah, of course I did.
Okay.
And then I uninstalled the game.
Well, that was nice of you. Did you leave a good message?
Yeah,
I'm stalling for time while I
that's
wait
fine.
for my Skype, or not Skype, the other thing. Let's play Butterfly Soup.
Ooh, I don't know what that is.
Nor do I. I like the title already, though.
It is a visual novel. I've been meaning to finish it for a while. It should not be long. There are some good characters in there.
Yeah, you can get it off just Google Butterfly Soup.
Yeah, it's on
Get it
itch.
Okay.
Ooh, name your own
Excellent.
price, too. I like it already.
Next time we will be playing Butterfly Soup. Thank you, listeners. Till next time. Peace!